See where we. All right, just checking to see everybody's online. We are alive, or alive as the case may be. Yes. Okay. We're ready to roll. Let's get the guitar out. Alrighty. And we'll play a song for everybody. Let's see. Let me tune this thing first. Not too bad. All right, so let's make a nice song for everybody. Let's see, songbook. Hey, this one I haven't done in a while. Let's see, how does it go? Okay, here we go. This is a Rathayatra song for all of you. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jai Jagannath, 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 Jai Jagannath. Hati Uday, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hati Uday. Haribo, 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 Nichako, Haribo, 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 Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Bhava, also Teta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON, Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Lila Thakur Ki Jai, Ren Say Go Sri Krishna Caitanya, Guru Ramananda Shri Jagannath, Radha Krishna Govardhana Sayam Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuranam Ki Jai, Jagannath-Swami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Srimati Lasti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Oh, right. I was just checking my calendar to make sure there was nothing today that I had to relate to you all. Because the next few days we got a whole bunch of different holidays coming. So, good to see everybody. We have a nice turnout tonight. So we will continue by doing the Chaitanya Charitamrta. So, I don't think there's any other announcements. So, Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tesbai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master's divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, yes. We are on the 23rd chapter of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta, beginning with text 22. And this chapter is entitled The Ultimate Goal of Pure Love of God. So it's very interesting. Of course, I say that about every chapter. So it's a very interesting chapter, and we'll get great enlightenment by hearing about this. Let me just center this, okay? Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So we're beginning with text 22 of the 23rd chapter of the Madhya Lila of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta. So Krishna Sambandha Vina Kala Vyartha Nahi Yaya. Not a moment should be lost. Every moment should be utilized for Krishna or connected with him. So What we're dealing with now are the qualities, the guna qualities, the secondary qualities of a pure devotee. So Maharaj Parikshit's expression of anxiety, of course this is Maharaj Parikshit speaking. He doesn't want to waste any time because he's getting ready to leave this world being bitten by a snake bird. We talked about that before. Maharaj Parikshit's expression of anxiety is explained in this verse. He says, let whatever is destined to happen take place. It doesn't matter. Just let me see that not a moment of my time is wasted without a relationship with Krishna. One can tolerate, one has to tolerate all obstacles on the path of Krishna consciousness, and one has to see that not a moment of his life is wasted outside of Krishna's service. Because Maharaj Parikshit, he had 7 days left. Do we have 7 days left? Do we have 7 minutes left? Do we have 7 moments left? We don't know. Do we have 7 years left? Do we have 70 years left? I mean, who knows? So we should lead each day or each moment of our life as if it were the last. Vagvis duvanto manasas marantas tanvanamanto pyanisham natripta vakta shravannetra jalasamagram ayurharereva samarpayanti. With their words, they offer prayers to the Lord. With their minds, they always remember the Lord. With their bodies, they offer obeisances to the Lord. Despite all these activities, they are still not satisfied. This is the nature of pure devotees, shedding tears from their eyes. They dedicate their whole lives to the Lord's service. So this verse is from the Hari Vakishudaya. It's also found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.3.29. So what does it mean they're still not satisfied? It means they want more and more and more. They're greedy for more and more. And there is never a satiation point. In material things, there's a satiation point. Like if you're eating dinner, you're satisfied. You don't want more after a certain point. And therefore you have to engage in a process called bhoga tiyaga. Bhoga means you enjoy, and then you stop enjoying for a while, and then you can enjoy again. You can't just keep enjoying all the time, because you have to be hungry to enjoy your eating. And that's renunciation. Chaga means renunciation. You have to stop eating. And if you don't stop eating, not only are you not going to be hungry, you are going to be as sick as a dog. See, bhukti siddhi indirarte tarinahi boya. In the material field, people are interested in material enjoyment, mystic power, and sense gratification, but all these things do not appeal to the devotee at all. Yo dushcha jandara sutan suredrajam redis prasha jaho yuvaiva malavad utamashloka lala saha. King Bharta was very eager to attain the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, who was called Uttama Shloka because poems and prayers are offered to him for his favor. In his youth, King Bharta gave up his attractive wife and children just as his beloved friends, as well as his beloved friends in opulent kingdom, just as one gives up stool after passing it. That is pretty heavy. In other words, I mean, how to explain this without freaking everybody out? It's not that people are supposed to do that. But if something is not favorable for Krishna consciousness, then it has to be rejected. But if your beloved wife and friends in opulent kingdom are favorable for Krishna consciousness, you should keep them and don't give them up. So the point is accepting everything favorable for pleasing Krishna. And that's called yukta vairagya. I mean, if I was thinking of giving everything up, of course I'm a sannyasi, there's none of the family attachments, especially since all my family members have passed away. But if I was thinking of just giving up everything, my computer, my glasses, my dhoti, I think, and my preaching, my car, that's the hardest one to give up, my car. So then that would be Falgu Vairagya. Falgu Vairagya means false renunciation, when you can use something in Krishna's service. So obviously, King Bharata had everything under control. It's not that he was acting irresponsibly like that, and he was at the age when he was supposed to renounce everything, which is his youth. Anyway, he had everything under control. He did not act, I assure you, he did not act irresponsibly. And he did not leave his wife out in the lurch. His wife was taken care of in many ways. I assure you, I don't know the details, but I assure you that was the case. These are the signs of virakti, detachment, found in a person who has developed bhava, the preliminary stage of love of Godhead. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 5:14-43. In other words, as one advances in Krishna consciousness, one accepts things on the basis of whether it can be pleasing to Krishna, and if it's not pleasing to Krishna, one can easily not accept them or give them up. And, he's nirapeksha, he's neutral. Sarvottama aphanake hinakare mane. Although a pure devotee's standard is above all, he still considers himself to be in the lowest stage of life. So that's a symptom of someone who's actually advanced. They actually think that they're not advanced at all, and they have no devotion for Krishna. If you think you have devotion for Krishna, that's a bad sign. A really bad sign. You should think, I have no devotion for Krishna. That's humility. Haro ratim vahanesha Rendranam Shikamadagi Viksham Matanari Pure Swapakam Apivandate. King Bhagirath always carried affection for Krishna within his heart. Although Bhagirath Maharaj was the crown jewel of kings, he was still wandering about and begging alms in the city of his enemies. He was even offering respects to Chandalas, low-class men who eat dogs. This is a quotation from the Padma Purana. So that's humility that's being described here. He kept his position, but he just went out as a very humble person and begged alms and offered respects to all living entities. Amanina Manadena. It's a quotation from the Padma Purana. Krishna Kripa Kari Vena Dhrida Kari Jane. A fully surrendered devotee always hopes that Lord Krishna will be kind to him. This hope is very firm in him. That's called Ashabanda, actually. Na prema shravanadi bhaktirapi va yogo ta va vaishnavo jnanam dva shubha karma vakriyanaho sajatirapyastiva hinartadika sadake tvai tatapyachedya mulasati he gopijana balabha Vyatayate ha madhashaiva mam. O my Lord, I do not have any love for you, nor am I qualified for discharging devotional service by chanting and hearing. Nor do I possess the mystic power of a Vaishnava knowledge or pious activities, nor do I belong to a very high caste family. On the whole, I do not possess anything. Still, O beloved of the gopis, because you bestow your mercy upon the most fallen, I have an unbreakable hope that is constantly in my heart. That hope is always giving me pain. That's called Ashabanda, actually. It means hope against hope, even though I have no qualities, material qualities, spiritual qualities, whatever qualities there are. I know you're going to save me because you are the Savior of the most fallen. This is a verse by Sanatana Goswami. It's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.3.35. Samutkanta haya sada lalasa pradana. This eagerness is chiefly characterized by an ardent desire to associate with the Lord. such intense emotions there. Twachchai shavam tri uvanan bhutamityavehi machchapalam chatavava mama vadigam yam tatkim karomi viralam murali vilasi mugdam mukham bhujam modikshitum ikshadabhyam. O Krishna, O flute player, the sweetness of your early age is wonderful within these three worlds. You know my unsteadiness, and I know yours. No one else knows about this. I want to see your beautiful, attractive face somewhere in a solitary place. But how can this be accomplished? So this is a verse from the Krishna Caritamrta by Bhava Thakur, verse number 32. It's a beautiful book. Namagane Sadaruchi Laya Krishna Nama. Due to having great relish for the holy name, one is inclined to chant Hare Krishna mantra constantly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rodana Bindu Maranda Shani Trig Indivaradya Govinda Tava Madhura Swarakanti Gayati Namavalim Bala. O Govinda, this youthful girl named Radhika is today constantly pouring forth tears like nectar falling from flowers as she sings your holy names in a sweet voice. This verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.3.38. Krishna gunakyane haya sarvada asakti. At this stage of Bhava, a devotee has awakened the tendency to chant and describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. He has attachment for this process. That's called asakti. It means attachment for the process. Madhuram, Madhuram, Vapurasya Vibhor, Madhuram, Madhuram, Vadanam, Madhuram, Madhugandhi Mridu, Smitam Heta Daho, Madhuram, 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 Madhuram. Sounds like Bhava Thakur. Let's see if I'm right. Oh my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body, but his soft smile, which has the fragrance of honey, is still sweeter still. So I was right. This is a verse quoted from Bhava Thakur's Krishna Caritamrta 92. Krishna Lila Stani Kare Sarvada Vasati. A devotee absorbed in ecstatic emotion for Krishna always resides in a place where Krishna's pastimes were performed. That's another quality. A devotee always resides in a holy place like Vrindavan. Or he makes his house a temple, or he resides in a temple, or at least he visits a temple. Kadaham Yamunatire Namani Tava Kirtayan Udbashpa Pundarikaksha Rajayashami Tandavam. O Lord Pundarikaksha, while chanting your holy name with tears in my eyes, when shall I dance in ecstasy on the bank of the Yamuna? This verse is found in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.256. Of course, Pundarik Aksha, Aksha means eyes, and so means lotus eyes. Okay? Oh Lord, lotus-eyed one. It's like Kamalaksha. Krishna ratira china kailun vivarana Krishna premera china ebe shuna sanatana. These are the symptoms of a person who has developed attraction, bhava, for Krishna. Now let me describe the symptoms of a person who is actually elevated to love of Krishna. Oh, Sanatan, please hear this from me. So in other words, we're talking about the progressive path of devotional service, beginning with this verse that was quoted at the beginning of the chapter, Doshradata Sadhu Sangota Bhajana Kriya. In the beginning, there's a little interest, a little faith, and one begins to associate with the sadhus. And then when one associates with the sadhus, one begins to do what they're doing, which is called bhajana kriya, the process of devotional service. And by doing the process of devotional service, you get rid of the unwanted things in your heart, like lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, fear, etc. And then one becomes steady, nishta, and then after nishta, you get a taste, ruchi, and after ruchi, you get a shakti, completely attached, and after a shakti, you get bhava, or emotions, and after emotions, you get prema. Yanrachite Krishna prema, hariye udaya, tanravakya kriya mudra, yena bhujaya. Very, very nice verse. Even the most learned man cannot understand the words, activities, and symptoms of a person situated in love of God. You can't calculate that. Like this morning, I was talking about one of my dear godbrothers who had passed away. His name was Caritamrta, and he literally translated hundreds of books from Sanskrit and Bengali into English. I have a whole library of his books on my computer. And everyone thought, well, he's just, really eccentric. What does he know? But he was the most absorbed in Krishna consciousness practically of anybody. Great, 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 great soul. So people couldn't understand because he acted very, very eccentrically. I mean, I went on Sankirtan with him, and he would basically not distribute too many books. He would be chanting japa the whole time and just approaching people, Hare Krishna, chanting japa really, really slowly. And I was the Sankirtan leader. So someone cannot understand someone like that, how they're actually absorbed in Krishna prema. And to produce so many books, I mean, amazing intellect he had. And, basically, to tell you the truth, I didn't appreciate that either. I just thought, he's eccentric. But little did I know how elevated, how dedicated, and how intelligent he was. So sometimes you don't know or appreciate someone enough until they're gone. And I see that with many of my godbrothers who have passed away. I just didn't appreciate, didn't take advantage of their association. I mean, what to speak of Srila Prabhupada? I appreciated Prabhupada, but I didn't take advantage, as I should have, of his association when he was physically present on the planet. So all of you, when you have some great soul, you should understand that association may be very fleeting. You may not get a chance to associate again. Tanyasyayam nava prema shonmi lati chetase antarvanivir apyasya mudra shushto sudurugama. Even a most learned scholar cannot understand the activities and symptoms of an exalted personality in whose heart love of Godhead has awakened. This verse was also found in the Bhakti-rasa-amrita Sindhu 1:4-17. And that's why I mentioned in regard to my dear godbrother Kushakrata. I just didn't properly appreciate him, who he was, and how he's not with us anymore. This lamenting. So many great souls we've lost, and we didn't properly appreciate and properly associate. And I had so many opportunities, associate with Tamal Krishnamars, of course I did associate with these devotees, but I just should have taken more time to do that. It's very, very sad. All right. Evam vratasva priyanama kirtya jitanurago drutachittavuchai hasachyato rariti uroti gayati unmadanvan nrichyati lokabaya. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated and chants just like a madman, not caring for others. Now, these are, of course, symptoms of Bhava. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2-40. Prema krame vadihaya sneyamana pranaya rago anuraga bhava Mahabhavahaya. These are the different stages of prema that are mentioned here. Love of Godhead increases and is manifested as affection, counter love, attachment, sub-attachment, ecstasy, and sublime ecstasy. In other words, it's something like cooking down a sugar solution. First, it's just sugar and water, then you cook it down a little bit more, becomes a little syrupy, then more syrupy, then it starts to, I guess, become like coagulate or whatever you call it. It's become like little balls of syrup, and then eventually it becomes crystallized as sugar candy. Vijay Ikshura Saguda Tabighanda Sara Sharakara Sita Machari Shuddha Machari Hara. This development is compared to sugarcane seeds, sugarcane plants, sugarcane juice, molasses, crude. Actually, this is the same example I just gave. I must be doing something right. Crude sugar, refined sugar, sugar candy, and a rock candy. So it's similar to the example I just gave. Sugarcane seeds, or sugarcane plant. Seeds, okay. Sugarcane seeds, because that's where the plants come from. Then the plants, and then you crush them, you get juice, and you cook it down, you get molasses, and then finally when it begins to crystallize, you get crude sugar, and then you actually refine it a little bit, then it becomes sugar candy, and finally rock candy. So those are the different stages of love. I mean, they're all love, but it becomes deeper and deeper and deeper love, or more intense love. Ihayache krame nirmala krame bada abade swada rati premadira taiche padaye ashvada. One should understand that just as the taste of sugar increases as it is gradually purified, so when the love of Godhead increases from rati, as a taste, which is compared to the beginning seed, its taste increases, it becomes more and more nectarian, or some people say nectarine, because nectarine is a fruit. Adhikari bede rati panchaparakara shantadasha sakya vatsalya mathura hara. According to the candidate possessing these transcendental qualities, sneha, mana, and so on, there are 5 transcendental mellows, which we've discussed many times before: neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental love, and conjugal love. In the Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu 1.3, 41, and 44, rati, attraction, is thus described. Yuktam ashrinite vantarakshate rati lakshanam mumukshu pravrittinam ched pavadesha ratirnahi kintu bala chamatkara kari tachinna vikshaya abhigena subodoyam rachabhasa prakirtitaha. The real symptoms of the fructification of the seed of love, rati, are manifested because the heart is melted. When such symptoms are found among speculators and foolish actors, they cannot be accepted as real symptoms of attachment. They're imitation. Foolish people without knowledge of devotional service praise such symptoms of attachment, even when they are based on something other than a desire to serve Krishna. However, one who is expert in devotional service calls such symptoms rajyavas, means like a shadow, a mere glimpse of attachment. There's a shadow of attachment, which is better than no attachment. It's like imitative. 46. E panchastai bhavahaya pancharasa ye rase bhakta sukhi krishnahaya vasha. These 5 transcendental mellows exist permanently. The devotee may be attracted to one of these mellows, and thus he becomes happy. Krishna also becomes inclined toward a devotee and comes under his control. So what's mentioned here is about the 5 transcendental metals. That's called Sthai Bhava. I don't know. Oh yeah, Sanskrit is there. It's called the Sthai Bhava. Previously we talked about Vibhava, that which stimulates the emotion. Sthai Bhava is like the permanent emotion. In the Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu 251, Sthai Bhava, permanent ecstasy, is thus described. That's why I called it permanent emotion, permanent ecstasy. Avirudam virudamscha bhavanyo vashatam nayan surajeva virajeta sasthai bhava uchate sthai bhavotra saprukta Shri Krishna Vishaya Ratiki. The mood bhava that brings under control the favorable ecstasies such as laughing and the unfavorable ecstasies such as anger. It's called unfavorable, but it's actually an ecstasy. Ruling over them like a king is called the Sthai Bhava, or permanent ecstasy. In this connection, continuous ecstatic love for Krishna is called permanent ecstasy. Sthai Bhava means your permanent emotion, which from time to time may be flavored by the indirect emotions, or the emotions coming from the indirect rasas, like anger. This is what's talked about here. Anger or humor or things like that. But that Sthai Bhava always remains underlying. That's your eternal ecstasy. In other words, let's say if you're eternally a parent of Krishna, then that's eternally there, although sometimes Krishna will do things that make you laugh, sometimes Krishna will do things that make you cry, sometimes Krishna will do things that make you angry, but permanently underlying all that, the foundational principle, the Sthai Bhava, is your parental affection, Vatsalya Prem. Say, Premadika Sthai Bhava, Samagri Milane, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Rupe, Paya Pariname. When the permanent ecstasies, neutrality, servitorship, and so on, the 5 different rasas, are mixed with other ingredients, devotional service and love of God is transformed and becomes composed of transcendental metals. So what's just talking about here is you have permanent ecstasy, Sthai Bhava, whether you're in Shantaras, or Dasharas, Sakiras, Vatsalyaras, Bhaturyaras, whether you're a parent or a conjugal lover of Krishna or a servant of Krishna, or friend of Krishna, or just an adorer of Krishna, when that becomes mixed with the indirect rasas, rasa samagri, like with anger, as we mentioned before, the parental mood can become mixed with anger, it can become mixed with humor, it can become mixed with shock, so many different things, then that becomes rasa samagri, which is a combination of the rasas. It's like, all right, let me give you an example. So the permanent taste of broccoli, let's take broccoli, for those of you who know what broccoli is, maybe you don't know what broccoli is, but it has a permanent taste, but then you add some spices. You have some chilies, some ashwatita, some black pepper, some salt, and so you bring out the taste. You don't want to cover the taste completely. Just like when sometimes I'm in Fiji, and I want to taste the Mahaprasad they offer to the deities, and they add so much salt that it becomes a salt preparation, and it's covered, the salt covers the actual taste of the vegetable, and all you taste is salt. And I go, ooh, how could Krishna eat such a thing? So the spicing is meant to bring out the taste of something. You're not meant to just eat spice. If you want to just eat spices, that's up to you. But why waste your money on vegetables? Just take some hot chilies and put them in your mouth. Take some black peppers and put them in your mouth. I mean, you have my blessings to do that. So in the Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu 2:1-4-5, the following definition is given: Atasya Keshavagrater Lakshitaya Nigadyate Samagri Pariposhena Paramarasa Rupata Vibhava anubhavaischa satvikar vyabichar bihi chari bihi swadhyatvam ridi bhaktadam anita shravanadi bihi esha krishna vrati stai bhavo bhakti ruso bhavet. Love for Krishna, Kesava, as previously described, reaches the supreme state of being composed of mellows when its ingredients are fulfilled by means of vibhava, anubhava, sattvika bhava, and vyabhachari bhava. Hearing and chanting are activated. So let me explain what that is. Okay, I got to explain these terms, even though I've explained them before to all of you. Vibhava means that which excites you or stimulates the emotion. Anubhava is what you do as a result of that stimulation. Sattvika, like dancing, crying, you have some control over that. Sattvika bhava is the Ashtash Sattvika bhava. There's 8 general categories that are due with your internal consciousness that comes in contact with Shuddha Sattva. And these are different ecstasies. And Vyabhachari Bhava, or Sanchari, which is the same thing. There's 33 of those. Those are uncontrolled, intermittent ecstasies. In other words, you don't know when they're coming. They come up all of a sudden, and you can't control them. You just faint in ecstasy. Like when Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw Lord Jagannath, that was like a Vyabhachari Bhava. Of course, it was Mahabhav. So, by means of Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika, and Vyabhachari, hearing and chanting are activated, and the devotee is able to taste love for Krishna. Then attachment for Krishna, or a permanent ecstasy, Sthai Bhava, becomes the mellow of devotional service, Bhakti Ras. So this is really easy to understand. When you have all these different emotions, they are assisting or surrounding the Sthai Bhava, the permanent emotion in terms of the relationship. In other words, let's say you're a parent of Krishna, you feel like a mother or father. That's the permanent emotion. And if you're a lover of Krishna, conjugal lover, you feel romantic in relationship to Krishna. And if you are a friend, you feel Krishna is your buddy. That feeling of Krishna, my friend, is the permanent ecstasy, or the Sthai Bhava. And the Vibhava awakens that, and one expresses the emotions of the awakening through the Anubhava, Sattvika Bhava, and the Vyabhachari Bhava. I hope that makes sense to everybody. It's pretty easy to understand. Vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika, Vyabhachari, Sthai Bhava Rasa, Hai Charimati. Permanent ecstasy, that's Sthai Bhava again, means what your relationship is. Not the relationship, it means the ecstasy from your permanent relationship. Becomes a more and more relishable transcendental mellow through the mixture of special ecstasy, subordinate ecstasy, natural ecstasy, and transitory ecstasy. And those are the mixtures with the Anubhava, Vyabhachari Bhava. Natural ecstasy is Sattvika Bhava. Transitory is the Vyabhachari Bhava, or the Sanchari Bhava. Anyway, it's pretty easy to understand if you study these things. Dariyena kanda maricha karpura milane rasalakya rasahaya apurva shvadane. Yogurt mixed with sugar candy, black pepper, and camphor is very palatable and tasty. Similarly, when permanent ecstasy mixes with other ecstatic symptoms, it becomes unprecedentedly tasty. I mean, just think, let's say if you were the mother of Krishna, let me give you an example, or the mother of anybody, a mother of just like Joe Blow or something like that, just an ordinary person. If you just have the ecstasy of your mother, that is not as ecstatic as the secondary ecstasies or the vyabhachari or the other ecstasies that come in, like being afraid for the welfare of your child, being concerned for his health, being concerned for his education, wondering when he's going to walk, or laughing when he does something really ridiculous and funny. So it actually, these mixtures to the original, which is called the Sthai Bhava, make the motions much more tasty. That's what's being mentioned here, unprecedentedly tasty. I hope that's easy to understand. Yeah, I mean, if I'm the mother, because I'm not a mother of anybody, not in this lifetime. Okay, let's say I'm the friend of someone, and I go to my friend. Okay, friend, let's just be. That's not so tasty. But when we joke with each other, when we fight with each other, when we get angry with each other, it's actually much more tasty. Dvidvida vibhava alambana udipana vamshi swaradi udipana krishnadi alambana. There are two kinds of particular ecstasies, vibhava. One is called the support, the other is called the awakening. The vibration of Krishna's flute is an example of the awakening, and Lord Krishna himself is the example of the support. So that, that's alambana, the two words mentioned here in the purport. Alambana, the support. Alambana means directly Krishna. Krishna Adi means things connected to Krishna. So that's also called and udipana. So udipana Krishna Adi, and things connected to Krishna, or alambana, which is directly Krishna. So those are the two divisions of what we call vibhava. And just to reiterate, vibhava means that which excites you or stimulates your other emotions. And so there are two types of vibhavas. I'm just repeating this so everybody can remember it. One is called alambana and the other one's called udipana. Alambana means directly Krishna, which is stated here. Krishna himself is an example of support. Like if you see Krishna. And udipana means things related to Krishna. Like if I see a peacock feather, or a peacock, an animal is a peacock, or if I hear the sound of a flute. For example, one time I was at Govardhan, and I heard the sound of the flute, and it put me in ecstasy until I realized the flute playing was just on the speaker system, and it wasn't Krishna playing the flute. But at least reminded me of Krishna. I thought, wow, no, I finally heard Krishna's flute. So, on that happy note, we will end. Tomorrow we'll begin with text 51. So we're going to stop sharing and take some questions. Let's hold on a second. We'll unmute you and allow you to ask questions, or allow you to unmute yourselves, or allow you to text in the text window, or raise your hand. So who has a question? This is your opportunity to ask a question. Nobody. Oh my God. Okay, someone asked a question here. Let's see who that was. Let me just move this chat window to the middle so I can see it better. Hold on a second. Pop out. Here we go. Let's see. Maximize the chat. That's easier. Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances. In the various Vaishya incarnations, Lord Krishna enters the jiva, that's the Shakta Vaishya incarnation, enters the jiva, executes his mission, and then departs. What does this mean, Gurudev? Does it mean that Lord Vishnu enters a human being for his mission? What does departs mean? Does it mean the death of that human being, or the Lord just leaves the human body? After that, the human being remains a normal person, everyone else. But what it means is that Krishna empowers through his potency a jiva. It's not that Krishna becomes the jiva, or the jiva is Krishna, and you see the jiva, and it's just the same as seeing Krishna. Well, in one sense, because of the most intimate servitude of the Lord, as we say, or chant in the Gurvastika prayers, Sakshad Hari Tvena Samasta Shastra. Still, the jiva remains a jiva, and he's given a power. He's empowered. I'll give you an example. Let's take Arjuna. Okay, Arjuna is a pure devotee of the Lord, and he was given certain powers to be the best archer, right? Everybody knows that. In the Battle of Kurukshetra, he was the best archer. Don't talk to me about Karna. I'm not interested in hearing about Karna. So he was the best archer. And he had his bow called the Gandiva bow. And nobody could defeat him. Yep. Then what happened is that later on, when Krishna left the planet, Arjuna was given the duty of protecting some of Krishna's wives that were still around. And as he was taking them away from Dwarka, because Dwarka was being inundated by the ocean, covered by the ocean, there was a band of cowherds who attacked Arjuna and kidnapped, or tried to kidnap, some of Krishna's wives. And Arjuna tried to fight them off. But his Gandiva bow just didn't work anymore. It was just without any, as I say, no more bullets in the gun. Anyway, so it just didn't work anymore. And so he understood that because Krishna had left the planet and Krishna had taken his power away from him, therefore Krishna left the jiva. Of course, Krishna was always with Arjuna because Arjuna is a pure devotee, but that specific power was taken away from Arjuna, and his Gandiva bow didn't work, and then later on he went out and told Yudhisthira Maharaj about it, and later on the Pandavas decided to leave this world because Krishna had taken their specific Shakti, that's called Shakt Avesh, away from them. Good point, and actually very ecstatic. Thank you very much. So who else has a question? You got 4 more minutes for questions. Raise your hand. Okay, here's another question. Okay, Hare Krishna Gurudev, how can I keep myself motivated in bhakti? Sometimes it feels like a routine, morning puja, reading, chanting, but still I don't feel the emotion that we discussed today. Well, several things. First of all, hearing is extremely important. If you don't hear, and of course chant regularly, I know you chant, but if you don't hear regularly from Krishna's great devotees, that's the first thing, then everything will become dry. And also, Prabhupada said that we should be preaching. Preaching means sharing Krishna consciousness, not that you just stand on a soapbox and berate everybody. But we should be sharing Krishna consciousness, at least giving people prasadam, explaining something about Krishna to people, distributing books, distributing Prabhupada's books to someone. And if we do that, we become very enlivened. That's the first point. The second point is that we have to keep reminding ourselves why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What is my motivation? Am I simply doing it because I'm supposed to be doing the routine? That's not a good one. You have to have some sankalpa, some purpose. Okay, and then the third reason is that we should be thinking about some great devotee whom we love, or Krishna and Radharani if you happen to love them. But from your descriptions, it doesn't sound like you have those emotions. So, for example, yes, reading scriptures and hearing is the same thing, but it's actually, hearing is more potent when it's done in the association of devotees, like we're doing here on the internet. So, for example, I look at Prabhupada. I have pictures of Prabhupada, or I think about Prabhupada, and I think that I'm doing this out of love for Prabhupada. And sometimes if we think I'm doing this out of love for Krishna, Krishna is really up there. And Radharani is really up there. So it's hard for us to just think, I love Krishna. Of course, we can be attracted to Krishna. That's very nice. But love is something that may be escaping us. But if we think about some great pure devotee, for me, of course, that's Prabhupada. Some great devotee, and I'm doing this for him. Just like today, for example. Okay, several things happened. Well, actually, a lot of things happened. Oh. And tomorrow, a lot of things happen. I had some conference calls and everything like that. And, just sitting, being in Zoom conferences. Of course, Zoom classes are kind of nice. So I was sitting and doing these Zoom conferences and participating with people. And it's not that everybody agreed with me. That's kind of frustrating if everybody doesn't agree with me. But then how do I keep myself enthusiastic? I think I'm doing this to please Prabhupada. And so you can even think I'm chanting to please Prabhupada, chanting to please my spiritual master, or some other great devotee. I mean, it has to be love. There has to be some bhakti there. And in the beginning, may not be just for Krishna and Radharani or for Caitanya Mahaprabhu. It may be for someone who is on this earth planet, who has been on this earth planet. And for me, it's always been Prabhupada. So I hope that answers that. That's actually quite a good question, that one that's applicable for all of us. Okay, so we are going to end now. I have a program to go to. I'm at the university, in my apartment in the university, so I'm going to go to the program and take prasadam too. So on that happy note, let me just see something on that. Hopefully it's a happy note. Then we'll see everybody, same time, same station, tomorrow. And we went up to text 50 today. Tomorrow we'll start with text 51. All glories to His divine grace, 22 to 50. I got to write that down when I finish class. All glories to His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hari Bol.